Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This is supposed to be like a later episode. And I knew when the baton was passed to the current administration, this was going to happen. But I wasn't sure how quickly it was going to take place because, well, there's a large fucking explanation for this. But, give me a second. Take a sip of my coffee. So, this is going to be probably classified as episode 3B. Now, currently, I just finished 9. And 9 needs something different added to it. I can't remember what it is. And I went through episode 4, and I realized that there's a big chunk in the center of episode 4 that helps a lot of things. But, this shit is fucking, I'm like mashing it together. Like, wow. I don't mean it to be mashing it together where I am. It's more or less, I have people that listen, provide feedback, and essentially tell me, yay or nay. There's a couple episodes I've re-recorded because I didn't feel they were right. So I'm pretty sure episode 9 is the 5 W's, which is not 5 W's, but W's. What? It's who, what, where, when, and how. How has W in it, but it's... Anyway, way. I know I need to interject that into the stuff I'm presenting to you when it talks about, like, pop culture stuff, right? And I know some of the stuff I've been presenting you so far, especially in episode 2, which you guys just went through, that got probably the most feedback because it's already out. So I got a wall of feedback in regards to that. So I'm like, cool. So everybody understands what this is going to be about. And I'm going to jump all over the fucking place. So you understand that. So this is going to be considered episode 3B. And this is taking a later episode that was planned for like May, June, because I figured that's when they would be fucking with it. But honestly, I need to get into it now because of what just happened in the last few weeks. Understand, we're just entering February. The episode 3A, which is normal episode 3, is Black Sabbath. Episode 4 won't acknowledge this episode. So this is wedged in between. So this is 3B. Not sure when I'm going to put this out there. I'm probably going to go a week later rather than the 2-week cycle I've been trying to establish. And only because a lot of people are like, are you going to talk about this now? Because clearly this is a fucking thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to talk about this now. All right, I know I talked about trickle-down economics, right? And the fact that it exists, and Coolidge was probably the first president to put that into effect, and kind of yielded a similar structure, kind of yielded the fucking stock market dive, and a lot of the reason why FDR had to create a whole infrastructure of social safety nets. And those are needed. So, with that said, I'm going to explain something that before it happened was a hypothesis. And older people, when I was explaining, I think this is about to happen, were like, nah, this is not good. That's never happened. It's not a thing. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think this is about to happen. And that is the employee-based economy. That's the hypothesis. Employee-based economy. Now, I'm going to have to probably take a pause in this at some point to look up the guy's name. Because I remember him saying this. I'm like, that's like the nail in the coffin, because you're basically accusing us of this. So needless to say, the employee-based economy came about because large businesses were holding off expanding. Mainly because, okay, so if you look at Obama's presidency in one simple way, and this is the way I look at it. I don't necessarily think he was ultra-liberal. Don't think that at all. I think he was the JFK we required for 8 years, right? So JFK made a lot of mistakes. Obama made a lot of mistakes, especially when it comes to international shit, right? You're like, no, but he was great. Nah, drones and shit, Guantanamo Bay, all that shit. So I'm not getting into that. I don't care about that. So he's the first president, to my recollection, to catch a free-falling economy. Meaning that we were about to go down the fucking tubes. And I can tell you this right now as a grown adult at that time. When I was in Florida, right, and I looked for jobs. One year, everybody was like welcoming and really happy and really, like, okay. Now, my upbringing comes from a really shitty, fucked up economy. And I'm from New England, and I understand Blue Dog Democrats are a fucking mess. They just are. We call corporatists, right? Now, I'm going to actually put this out there because I genuinely believe this. And I'm not the only person on the fucking planet that believes this. So, but I'm going to say it out so it's clear to you. Clearly, there's a corporatist structure, meaning that they support corporations over people. They get paid by the corporations, donations, structure like that. I think the illusion is there's a Republican and Democrat concept. Because I voted for both for many years, right? And I think the idea is that, well, this is my party, this is the other party. I think the closest it came to like people saying it literally is one Muppet with two heads, right? Was in 2000. Because it became very clear on the Clinton. That was the thing. I don't look at it like that. I literally look at there's many fringe parties. And there's one corporate party, which leans both its head in the Democrat and the Republican Party. It owns the Republican Party probably like 95%. Maybe 90. I'll be nice. 90. Like lockstep. Like, this is what you'll do. Dance. Right? And they do it. And the Democrats are the same thing, but they're told to play a different role. And I don't want to say, honestly, one weird thing about Democrats, I want to say they only control 60 to 70% of the Democratic Party. Because they have more open door policy because of the way, socially, how they look at people. They don't necessarily look at people in the same way. So it's like the dad and the mom, good cop, bad cop concept. That's how we look at it. So before you're like, oh, let's stick a fucking label on you. You can, have fun with that. Because I'm going to fuck with you a lot. Because I believe what I believe. So Obama caught a free-falling economy. Now, you can argue that, and I will argue, that the signs of the downturn in 08 were showing up in 06 and 07. And the reason why I figured this out is when I went to the interviews in 06 and 07, I went to tons of interviews from over the years. It was amazing the tact change. Like from 05, it was like, they're setting up a coffee, they had flowers, every so often they'll jump into a jingle to sell you the job. Whereas in 06, the person's frightened behind the desk. You're hearing people, muffling in fucking booths somewhere. There's like cobwebs and tumbleweed. And by 07, it was a fucking nightmare, right? So it was showing up. Obviously, the housing market burst, one that we're now dealing with again because they don't know how to correct their shit, right? That's why everybody's paying absurd amount of rents, which goes into my argument. So I think structurally they expected Clinton to win. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Hillary Clinton was the worst candidate to run. Hands down. That's my point of view. I don't look at Bill Clinton as Democrat. I look at him as a Republican with a Democratic suit. And that's going to drive people fucking insane. But half the shit that man did while he was in office is amazing to me. I mean, Glass-Steagall was taken apart. And that was designed to stop us from another depression. And it happened under his watch. So that's the thing, right? So she lost. Clearly, we know Obama won. And if the plan is large in scale, if they're like, well, she's going to come in and we'll hand her a shitty economy because we're spending and spending and spending. Because conservative doesn't mean conservative. Liberal doesn't mean liberal. You just have these fucking words that exist, that are oxymoronic language. Orwellian concept for doublespeak, right? Because there's very few conservatives, like real, genuine, we're deficit hawks. Dude, you're in fucking debt, profound debt. Like Perot told you how to clear the debt back in the 90s, and you're like, no, this guy's crazy, right? But yet we use him to prop up Mitt Romney. The shit didn't make any fucking sense, right? Magic. It's all show, people. So anyway, which way? Obama gets in and initially has to act. And he acts with the whole thing. Now, he walks in with a large mandate. Like currently, Trump got in with a mandate, but not as substantial as Obama's mandate, right? He walked in with almost like an era. That's why I said kind of modern day JFK. JFK brought on that whole era, right? And whether you realize this or not, the Republican Party went through an internal war during the tenure of his existence. So it slowly got to where it is right now, all Nixonian concepts, like from the McCarthy era, leading them to where they are right now, right? But they went through a libertarian structure. So you have a Republican Party that's by name only, but they're acting like libertarians to a certain degree, minus the idea of just having you guys do socially whatever the fuck you want, right? They still want to, get into your fucking rooms and your orientation and all that shit. Shit doesn't make any sense, right? And Democrats just want to appease you. They're like, oh, it's nice you like that. But they're not really. Because they status quo, right? So, any which way. So, he gets in, and shit's out of control. Shit's falling. Now, think about it this way. In an alternate history, you would have had Hillary Clinton go in, right? And that would have been a fucking nightmare. That would have been a complete nightmare. Because the idea of handling that would have been fucking overwhelming. And the generation of hate and vitriol they had towards her, which stems back actually to Tipper-Gore associations and all that stuff from back in the day. At one point in time, she was something different. But then she kind of became like the normal establishment, like when you watch Pelosi eat ice cream from a refrigerator. The shit is fucking weird, right? Because they're the veneer. They're like maintain, act as if Machiavellian concepts, right? So this is a thing. He catches a free-falling economy because he works with enough people, and I was against the idea of bailing out Wall Street. But I understood the concept of it. When Elizabeth Warren first showed up with the TARP, and she was like, we need to charge these people interest. I'm like, fucking dope. That's the smartest shit ever. Like, I first heard her, I'm like, holy shit, where the hell did you come from, right? So you're like, geez, well, you're definitely liberal. Like, no, seriously. She wanted to charge people, these companies, for us bailing them out, interest, right? A lot of these companies, some of these companies paid back. Same point in time, when it came to helping us out, they didn't want to do it. They were having a hard time doing it. Right? I'm going to actually just sum this all up. Obama's first term in office had him catch a free-falling economy. No other president in the history of this country has done that. Free-falling. Plummeting. Like 41 had to... No. Reagan propped up the bullshit in the 80s. It fell apart at the end of the 80s. Bush 41 had to deal with it, right? That's why he was on the line by 92. No new taxes, all this other shit. No. The only way you'll be able to prop things up is by taxing. That's how things are, right? Money has to come into the country itself, the infrastructure itself. You can't privatize everything. It's fucking useless if you do. And we're automatically a victim if that happens, right? And if you don't believe me, think about each individual membership for your stream service and every other fucking bill you have that's separate from governmental bills, right? Think about this. The goal is to minimize work and service or maximize profit. That's the concept for them. So the service you get up front at the very beginning is fucking great service. But over the years, they're like, we can hire one person to do the job of 8. And all of a sudden the service quality goes down. But the price goes up. That's how it always seems to be. And they try to say, no. Fuck you. You're a liar. Right? This is all propaganda from this point on. So anyway, this happens. The economy's somewhat stabilized but janky, right? Because it's still fucking recovering. It just had a major seizure, right? And one that was happening before Bush 43 fucking said it was happening. I'm telling you, I'm in various parts of the country at this point in time, and I'm realizing people are fucking feeling this. And when they were acting like this wasn't happening, I'm like, I come from a shitty economy. This was happening. I come from an asshole of the country. An area that they just took a big fucking shit on and let rot, and now rich people are going in there, buying it up slowly and trying to take the copper from underneath the people, right? Fall River, New Bedford, Massachusetts. Great place. This is an asshole country. You said, no, I'm telling you, I have love for the place. But the way they treated it over the years is fucking horrifying, right? And now, just rich people come in. You can become a landlord and serve over your serfs, right? We'll come in and just take the stuff out from underneath you. That's all right. It's a burden. Don't worry about that. We'll take it from underneath you. That's what they're doing. Currently right now. And it's weird because people aren't necessarily recognizing that fully. And it's funny, over the years in that city, like they recognize it was a gem because it's not that far from Newport. It's on the way to Cape Cod. It's not that far from Providence. Providence is dope as fuck, right? It had a great punk scene back in the 80s and 90s, right? So that's a thing. You have a lot of interesting things around that one city. And we knew that, right? Yet the education system there is jacked. It's a vampire economy. People have to in order to have stabilization, they had to leave the area in order to go to travel within an hour radius outside of the city to get a normal paying job to bring money back to the city so it survived, right? It's on an upswing, but it's on an upswing, and I'm not sure if it's servicing the citizenry. Yeah, I said that all at once. So Obama's administration caught the free-falling economy. Again, this hasn't happened ever in this country. He goes through the 4 years. Obviously gets a lot of accolades. There's gains upon gains upon gains upon gains up until currently. And if you don't believe me, look this shit up. Right? We've weathered a lot of shit. A lot of shit. COVID did not happen under the Obama administration. It didn't. We had a possible Ebola issue. It didn't happen. It happened under Trump's administration. Right? We lost over 1 million fucking citizens between the handling of that. Because it was already here. Because of COVID, right? Over 1 million fucking citizens. Look that shit up, too. Really. Our countrymen. Over fucking 1 million. That's fucking crazy, right? So, in Obama's second term, something happened. And this is, understand, okay, I'm going to gloss over the whole Obamacare, which is ACA, right? I'm going to gloss over all that because that was fucking ridiculous. That's something I'll get into some other point in time, right? The second term, I start seeing this weird pattern. Well, there's jobs, but they're only part-time or on-call, part-time on-call. Because if Obamacare, which I'll call it that, had gone through the original way it was supposed to go through, single payer, all this stuff, people wouldn't have had to rely on their jobs 100% in order to have benefits, healthcare benefits. Meaning that if they started a business, they would have healthcare as a part-time thing while they're doing a normal job. Meaning that the jobs can now pay you more because you have healthcare, because the transition will be into universal healthcare structure. Now, the whole corporate aspect of that, I don't necessarily agree with. I'm talking about the single payer structure, which probably would have won out and regulated the price market. I genuinely believe that. Understand, this is all based on opinion. So before you fucking go mad and lose your shit. Now, the employee-based economy was a theory I was working on because I was seeing this pattern emerge. They're talking about, there's not that much job growth, and it seemed like the larger system was stalling jobs because they figured out how to run their shit based on minimal workers. Meaning that there's positions that needed to be filled, but they were running things bare bone, minimum workers, right? This is important to note. I'm telling you this right now. This is important to note. It got worse than it did in the 70s and in the 80s. Meaning that there's jobs that exist. Let's say one job, generic example. You have a room with 5 positions in that room. And you figured out how to run it with 2 people. Or one person. And that one person has to now do the workload of 4 other people that are not there. But the jobs are posted, but they're not hiring for the jobs. Or if they're hiring for them, they're hiring either on-call or part-time. They're being weird about the salaries and weird about things. Understand, I grew up in Massachusetts where for fucking years, they would never hire you as a full-time status because then they have to offer you benefits. They would max you out to the best of your ability for work, but they wouldn't give you benefits. There was a weird fucking thing in the law. Now, accolades to Romney because when he was governor, a Republican, more or less centrist, in a blue dog Democratic state, they realized, that's a thing, right? You can't kind of keep doing that. It happened when I was in there. So that's a thing. So you have these people starving the system for workers. I remember going to stores, and it still drives me fucking insane till today, right? Is you go to stores and they don't stock the stuff. And I'm going to repeat this again at some point in time because I think how they moved music away was done around the same time. Because I would go to stores. I'll give you an example. Now, granted, it's anecdotal, but it serves a purpose because this pattern keeps replicating itself. And I know other people bitch about the same thing. And again, anecdotal. But if you can relate to this, then you understand what the fuck I'm talking about. The Scent of Man by Bad Religion came out, and Target had a physical copy in the store. However, it was not put out. This pattern actually started emerging sometime in the second wave of the Bush administration. It seems to be there's your product that's coming out, and people are going to come in for this new product because it just got released. Understand this. I grew up in a culture where people would wait to midnight to buy albums. That was a thing for a long time. That's how much music had influence on things. So when a store, normal albums just come out on Tuesdays, they started doing them on Fridays. So when people going to the store to buy these albums and you don't have them, or you don't have them shelved, what are you doing with them? Are you holding them in the back and hiding them hostage? This pattern kept emerging. And I want to say, even with Nirvana's box set with the lights out, that was a thing. In films, actually, currently Target right now does not have films at least the ones in my area. So I'm not sure what the fucking policy is now. It's weird because A24 just put out a large setup for both Walmart and Barnes & Nobles. Physical copies are desired. That's why I don't necessarily understand why the fuck you're reducing them. Okay? But this creates a pattern. Any which way. The pattern is that, well, we don't have enough employees, enough workers, enough whatever. Do you not? Or are you just not hiring these positions? I remember people applying to overnight positions for these places, and it was very difficult to get, despite the fact they had a long, elaborate history. So something hiccups around this time. Honestly, I'm missing the factors to them. That I honestly don't know. I'm thinking the goal was the same way they treated how they opened stores. Do we really need that? We can make the store messy as fuck in the morning so when people go to shop at them, they're fucking aggravated as hell because your staff is taking their sweet time stocking the shelves. We'll do that instead because it's cost ratio. We don't have to hire people for overnights and we don't have to pay them more money because they work overnights. And that's what it seems like to me. You know, and it's universal across the store, across the board. Like if you go to markets, they're fucking like, really, we're putting this shit out. Like grandma's trying to get by to fucking get her fucking food, and here you are, these huge ass pallets, industrial shit on the floor. Great, that's fucking genius, right? That's the thing, right? That's the thing. That's modern world. Why are they trying to get rid of the fucking workers up front? We don't want that much staff, so there's a fucking check yourself out so you can work for us for a little while and do our job for us, and we won't pay you in any discount way, shape, or form. Yeah, that's the thing. Right? This is all showed up. This is the way the modern world is right now. Right? So what happened is their stalling of the economy. And I honestly say it was their stalling of the economy. Because fucking human beings tax write-offs for you, right? You get the benefit of making profit off of us because you don't pay us the money we deserve when we go to work at these places. So what happens is you try to cut costs, but the people above of a certain echelon, they get paid money that doesn't make any logical sense because fronting, Machiavellian concepts. Like if they are virtuous, if they appear virtuous, they are virtuous. Look how great that person's teeth are. Like that's a thing. That's a thing. No bullshit. That's actually a thing. Okay? So these motherfuckers decide to turn around and say, no, we're to stall things off. And so you have the conservative, supposedly conservative, saying, well, the job market, around this time. This is like 2012, 2013. And I start thinking, okay, I have 1,000 kids, right? I have this, I have that, I have this going on. I'm working over here, working over there, helping this person out, helping that person out, right? And I'm not making that much money. I'm not. I'm trying to figure out how to best manage shit, right? Because that's how it is. Big fucking pile of shit. Proletariat always gets shit on, right? That's what I'm saying to you. Across the board, proletariat always gets shit on. Except we have a power. And I already said that in episode 2. We vote with our dollar. Things we want to see and appreciate in life, we put money towards. That's a thing. So I started thinking about consumer culture because innately I look at things sociologically. And I'm like, I do have some disposable income. It's not a lot. But it's enough to buy, I need a pair of sneakers here. I can use a table, a bookshelf. It's enough to get by, right? And I think to myself, if I have this, and I'm not even making a lot of money, that means other people have this, right? Now, there's a caveat to this. There's a thing you got to take into consideration that I'm going to get to, and that's trickle-down economies, because they do exist, but they're not dominating the whole country. I think the goal was to make them dominate the whole country, but they don't. So, What I speculated was that these people are going to stall off growth because you need to hire full-time workers. You need to expand your businesses. Your stock market, your investors really want you to do this because the goal is spread like a cancer. Like show up, I'll give you a good example of this. And this is not necessarily, I say this fucking harsh language, but realistically, some of these companies are needed. Dunkin' Donuts, I've been into places where routine coffee shops don't exist. Coffee. Like the lifeblood of Americans. They didn't exist. And it was fucking horrible, right? So when Dunkin' Donuts, even though the coffee's all right, I'm drinking some now, it's all right. Starbucks and fucking, what's the other one? Caribou at the time was really big. When they didn't exist in areas, and you're getting these like weird ass, like you're not sure if the person can distinguish between decaf and regular coffee, gas station coffee, like the one that's like tastes like, did somebody put turpentine in this shit, right? Like that fucking shit, right? It doesn't even do its job. It's like you got to drink 44 fucking gallons of that. But when you go to like the local franchise eateries like here's Eaton Park, down in Florida's Perkins, and you're drinking their coffee, you're like, Jesus Christ, I'm fucking ready to take on the world, right? Same smoothness. Well, actually, no. Bathroom coffee. Dude, what are you doing making coffee in a bathroom? Dude, that's disgusting. You know, somebody shat there. That's all right, though. Adds to the pep, right? No. So I'm thinking gas station coffee. Just it's fucking different. A boutique dedicated to coffee is extremely fucking helpful, right? Overnight jobs should have fucking decent coffee, and it should be well fucking maintained. You're like, these workers don't appreciate shit. Motherfucker, you want this person to stay awake? You want them to fucking function at their best? Have the best mental capacity coming at you? You better make sure you have fucking coffee, right? Or tea, or something, right? Give them motherfuckers water, right? Why? Because they're grilling through the hours. They're doing something which is basically kind of considered unnatural, right? Let them do that. Provide that for them. You want them to fucking show up there? Before you argue about fucking benefits, make sure they have that. Okay? That's a little soapbox right there. The whole thing's a soapbox, I know, but that's a little extra. I had to step up from my original soapbox. So, I started thinking, the consumer culture is going to run roughshod in these fucking corporations. Right? This is like 2012, 2013. Because I'm seeing this pattern emerge. I'm like, I can go buy a DVD. I can't buy a lot of DVDs. I can go buy a DVD, though. I can go buy an album, right? Yes, I like the odds. You're right. If I want to go to a sporting event, I can go to a fucking sporting event. If I want to go see the fucking Tampa Bay Lightning play, go see them, right? If I want to go see a fucking Patriots game, I can go see that, right? Maybe not as much because that's really expensive. Tampa Bay Lightning at the time was really cheap. So, any which way. So this is a thing. And I started thinking, they're stalling because all we're seeing every month is growth. And then the Republicans come out like, oh, well, you know those job numbers aren't real numbers. There's people that not calculated. I know when that happened. You know when that happened? Under Bill Clinton. If it wasn't Bill Clinton, it was definitely Bush 41. Around that time, there was a coastal recession that almost devastated the fucking many cities. I was in one of them. Okay? It was like the rough sand fist fucking. That's what was happening. Oh, we got shops, and they were like, NAFTA, yeah, motherfuckers, shops are moving overseas because we want to increase our supply chain. Really? That supply chain broke down during COVID? Again, it kind of irked me that I watched the vice president debate, and they're talking about supply chain and all that stuff. Why is the supply chain all over the fucking place? You think it's to benefit Americans? Absolutely not. So, before you fucking get your little torches, tiki torches or whatever the fuck you get, and start losing your shit, really think about this shit. Know your history. Okay? That supply chain started growing in the 40s. Oh, yeah. Workers got a lot of rights and a lot of shit in like the 20s and 30s. Right? 40s. Yeah. A lot of those rights we earned. Blood, sweat, and tears. Okay? That 8-hour week, 8-hour day, overtime, all that shit. That was blood, sweat, and tears. That was lots of picket lines. Okay? So when we started getting clout, they're like, hey, is there another market we can exploit? Right? And you're like, well, that's, hey, that's true. This happened. That's fact. Okay? That should be taught more. Imagine, they're losing shit about African American history. Imagine if labor history was taught. Holy fuck. Like, yeah, that would people would be losing their shit. You think the Obamacare propped up fucking people in town halls losing their shit fakely? Like, oh, yeah, take everything away. Like, fucking, you think that's bad? Wait to the idea of labor history. U.S. labor history. Yeah, you can buy volumes of this. That's how fucking crazy it is. Okay? So I'm sitting there, back in the day, thinking, I have a feeling consumer culture is about to knock the whole economy on its fucking ass. Because, again, we have a strong consumer culture. We do. Here's what's weird. Everybody's like, there's waste, lots of waste. And I completely agree with that because there's something not being dealt with when it comes to that. We don't do something that I think other countries do really well. And that's repurposing things, breaking things down. We don't do that after the fact. Here's another thing. The people buying a shitload of stuff is the pendulum for the people that don't have a shitload of stuff. So it's wasteful. It's wasteful because they have it, but the others don't. Have and have-nots, right? Another thing to take into consideration, products are designed to break down or have short-term shelf lives. And that right there is not the burden of the consumer. That's a burden of the maker. Why? The going joke is you'll see refrigerators from the 1960s or 70s still functioning till today. And you're like, Jesus Christ, right? I can shoot this thing and it still functions. But I buy a modern one, the shit barely lasts 5 years. No shit. Right? No shit. It's like when you buy older stuff and rework the older stuff, the shit will last longer. Why? Than your average beer. Because the shit's made of like hard metal. It's designed to withstand. Because the consumer culture then was they wanted something that lasted. If I'm going to put my money up, I need it to last. Right? I didn't necessarily cover that fully, intangibles and intangibles, but that's something to take in consideration. That's a future episode, by the way. Understand I'm doing this at a different time than everything else. So I do apologize for that. So I'm thinking, so I'm speculating this. And I have old heads, people that are like 10, 20, sometimes 30 years older than me, going, that's never happened. Like, I think this is about to happen. Like, what do you think the ripple effect to that will be if consumer culture pushes and forces the hand of business? They'll be behind the mark for the first time in a long time. Meaning that the argument about salaries that started in New York and major cities with the minimum wage workers in McDonald's and a lot of the fast food franchises saying, fuck, the cost of living is a lot. And I have to travel all the way here to actually make, like, what? Nothing. Right? That's the whole minimum wage argument. Mind you, there's two dueling arguments. One that kind of was forgot about, which is living wage, which is not the same as minimum wage. Right? And living wage actually salvages a lot of things. Living wage is based on the cost of living, like how much it costs to rent a place out. So your salary has to reflect that, so you'd be able to do that, right? And that's scary. Like, we don't want to talk about that. We'll just do the bare minimum. No, because if you're in a city where it costs you $3,000 to fucking rent, and within the radius outside of that city is expensive, then there should be an algorithm that will dictate your salary. Because in order for you to exist in that fucking city and work at that fucking job and actually show up in time and do the job, you have to be able to live there, right? Where the minimum is just, here's $7 an hour, fucking eat shit, here's $7 an hour. That's the bare minimum I could pay you unless you work in agriculture. Oh, yeah, it's one of those hidden things, right? So, that's the thing. So, you turn around, and I say to these guys, I'm like, hey, they turn around, my bad, not you. And I say to them, hey, I have a feeling that they're going to be forced to grow. What do you mean? Because if people have spending cash and their salary, hourly pay hasn't gone up, and they're stalling growth and they're acting like there's no jobs, or there's jobs, but you can't hire people in them now because we can't, whatever excuse they're giving you. I have a feeling that consumer culture is going to force that hand. That's crazy. And I started walking it through. I said, it means we're probably going to get more money per hour. Now, mind you, this hadn't happened yet, but this argument was already being established in, I want to say, early 2Ks, mid 2Ks, right? 2000s, like from 2000, 2010. The argument was presented that McDonald's workers and fast food workers wanted more money in order to be able to secure these jobs. Like, you want people to do the job correctly. This will go with the argument with Target and not shelving things, not fronting things. And all of a sudden there's a vacancy of staff, but yet you're not filling these positions, right? And you're like, well, that's a problem because, you know what? Your CEOs and your upper echelon are making a fuckload of money. Like, they're the one that's killing your company, ultimately. But you don't see that. Because again, well, if they look luxurious and they drive these great things and they have these suits and they look sharp, they're business. No. You require the people underneath them in order to make them look better. And they have to be consistent and fluid at their job. It's common sense. But again, that concept of common sense seems to be whittled out. That's a separate argument for a separate time. Right? So in 2012, 2013, I'm now starting to see the pattern of this. It's unfortunate because only 2, maybe 3 people remember me like arguing and pointing this out all the fucking time. People, friends, family were telling me, you should probably write about this. And honestly, if I would have stuck to it, I could have. But I'm thinking, what does it matter if I write about this? Right? I know this is happening. Oh, this explains what I'm doing right now. Right? So, what ends up happening in 2013 to 2015 is salaries start going up. People start making more money. Now, there's a caveat to this, like I said to you earlier. In trickle-down economies, that's weird. So, you are aware, I'm going to bring this up to you, blue states pay for red states. Our tax gain and how we set the book straight, they pay for red states the majority of the time. There's exceptions, right? But it's true. There's some truisms to this. Because blue states were set up, especially in the Northeast, they were set up so long ago that all the major problems you have with cities have happened there before they happen in other parts of the country. Right? So they had to figure out the mechanics of that. New York City being one of them, Boston being another. Like, there's a major Philadelphia, like there's major things that take place. And if you take cues from each other, structurally, you could solve some of these problems because the same problems are going to show up. So cities that after a certain year, during the expansion west, go through the same structure, same problems. Now, they might not pull the same amount of people because of New York City has already a staple for tourism, right? But they're old cities. We realized social network, social services, and social structures need to be put into place. Because that's the way society is, right? Now, I can go off and talk about this undermining that happened during Reagan to these states, but I'm not going to address that right now. And it had to do with the social services and undercutting workers, union busting. That's a long fucking story. I'm not going to get into that. So, you have this happen. So in areas that, let's say, large church groups or an opulent few that are your power elite, that you know in your hearts of heart that are running shit, if they run by a trickle-down economics, meaning that we put all the money up to them, and maybe it will make its way down, right? Those people are creating a blowjob economy. Why? Because why I say blowjob, not just head? Because the blowjob economy is self-serving to the person getting the blowjob, right? And they want you to whore up to him as best as possible to say, please, sir, give us some money, right? They want us all to be fucking all over twist in that economy. Because at any point in time, if they wanted to shut it down or slow it down, they could, because you've given them all the means to do so, right? That's why trickle-down doesn't fucking work, fundamentally. I said this to an old person about 2 weeks ago. They almost fucking shit themselves. They're like, dude, that's a good... He said, dude, he said, I never heard it explained that way, but that makes so much sense. I said, it does. I said, because it's all designed to keep the people up top comfortable. In this way, almost like Caligula style comfortable. Not all the time is it just one person. It's several. And I would argue probably even church groups. So when they're doing it and they're making money hands over fist, and you have these people, evangelicals, saying, fucking, I need a plane, or whatever the fuck they need. That's crazy. But the people there don't necessarily know that's crazy because they're arranged to think that's normal. You know? Critical thinking is another thing that's attacked. It's a separate story for another time. So, why am I bringing this up right now? Because when I argue with older men about this, there was a handful of people that were listening to me argue about it all the time. So when it slowly happened, they noticed it. So all of a sudden, salaries started going up, specifically in the areas I was living in. And across the board, like I would talk to people from different parts of the country, and they were like, no, this is a thing, right? Because nobody can live on fucking $7, $5, $6 an hour, or less than 10. Like that wasn't a thing. And honestly, people could have lived on 10 until you started jacking up the fucking rents. So I'm not arguing for minimum wage anymore. If living wage comes up, that's the fucking way to go. Don't hold your breath though, because that scares them. You like them? Them? Oh, conspiracy theory. Speculation, sir. Comfortable speculation within reasonable fucking thought. Right? And there it is a them. You want to know who the them are? It's simply defined. The people that benefit the most from the way things are. You figure that out, you can get names. So it's no longer them or they. You know who the fuck they are. Right? And many times, they don't want you to know that. And there's a great book on that called Dark Money. Jay Mayer, right? That thing came out, it was a big fucking deal. The Big Short came out around the same time. I would definitely look into that book because it paints the picture of corporatists the way I said at the very beginning of this episode. Because the more you understand it's that versus normal human beings, right? Normal workers, proletariats, so be it. Now, money started going up, and they've been behind the chase since. And honestly, I don't think they understood it until Trump was in presidency the first time. I think that's when they realized, oh shit. My gripe with this is that the news media did not talk about this deal. We're too busy talking about reactionary shit, right? According to people I've talked to, they've mentioned this after the fact, but they still attribute me as the first one to ever say this. Consumer-based economy, meaning the consumers, right, employees are dictating the fucking economy for once in the U.S. history. They're saying, fuck you, this is the money I need in order to function. You don't pay me, I'm going to go to another job. And what we do is adapt. Meaning that the one thing we learned from the Great Depression that kind of became staple, especially for people that live in this city, is we'll take on several jobs to survive, right? I grew up in New England, and when you graduated, they didn't want to really hire you because you had these people welding for, you're not going to get these jobs. You're not going to get this, the welding job's not going to happen. Post office job's not going to happen. This job, because there's people there. There's not enough positions, right? This is what they would fucking say. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to put my hand in this, hand in this, hand in this, hand in this, hand in this. I'm going to make a normal paycheck. So I have to figure out how to take on like 82 fucking small jobs in order to make a normal paycheck, which gives you a janky work history. But that's the thing, right? That's how you do it. We learn that innately, especially people that didn't have much. I didn't. So you figure out how to make that work to the best of your ability, right? And take that and apply normal wages, because eventually they caught up to the wage, right? Now, about a week ago, when I mentioned this, all these events were happening last week, right? And some guy literally started screaming at me. What do you mean employee-based economy? I pay so much for this, I pay so much for that. I'm like, dude, how do you think they know that you'll pay? Because they know you have the means. Because you dictated it. The great price gouge right now, the cost of all this stuff, now again, avian flu is why eggs are up. The great price gouge is because they want your fucking money and they know you have it and you gain clout. So the goal is to starve the fuck out of you. That's the goal, right? So in the process thereof, we're taxing at a higher rate in states that can pay for social services, right? Meaning that social services is being collected from taxes. Where's the problem, right? Wait, now let's aim roughshod at them, at the whole system. So why am I doing this for episode, what I'm calling 3B? Because this was not supposed to happen this quickly. I was expecting it to show up later, but I'm realizing there is no plan. It's just fucking random. And we're going to have to deal with that. 18 months. Right? And drunk dad's home and he's going to fucking beat the kids. That's what's going to happen. And we have to manage that as best as possible. And I said that. And you're like, wait, that's terrible. I can't believe you frame it like that. I'm framing it like that. You know, we had senile grandpa, now we have drunk dad. You know, and we had passive mom, right? She existed and took her foot off the fucking gas in October. And I was saying that to people, and you want to see how many Democrats did not like me saying that? I'm like, yeah, well, she said, not the greatest candidate in the world. You know who I think should run? That has levity, probably most levity since RFK, the original RFK, not this weird knockoff. Robert Kennedy. I think Jon Stewart. I think Jon Stewart should run because he elevated journalism. You're like, wait, he's a comedian. Yeah, fuck you. He elevated journalism. He set a new precedence. He got back to what it should have been. And the ones that started their own little things online, the independent media, are following that methodology. Maybe a little more clearer, not as vocal, but they're doing it. And the old system is now going, we're old. Yeah, because you bought into the corporate model. And remember, it's been several years that the evening news, the normal standard benchmark for the U.S. since the dawn of television, and I want to say even radio, there's been several years that it had to become an entertainment factor. In other words, it has to gain ratings. There was many years it didn't have to because it was a public service. This all changed. The problem is your average everyday person doesn't know this happened. And I'm throwing a lot at you, right? I am throwing a lot at you. And I have this knowledge, working knowledge. I'm not trying to throw it at you like this, but I felt this, especially with a lot of people calling me and a lot of people interacting with me and fucking asking me tons of questions. And in fact, I kind of called this was going to happen before it happened. The goal is to break the employee-based economy. Now, I'm going to say this right now. This is how it's going to go. So, if employees, you know what, fuck that word. Worker-based economy. If American workers realized how much fucking power they have, you think they would allow these people to walk over them? No. There's some tough fucking people at work. You know, people that do amazing shit. Now, it bothers me that when this transformation happened, very few people acknowledged it. Right? I was calling it. And when I talked to the older people, older men, they were like, well, what do you expect to happen? I said, I don't know, because I don't think people are aware this is going to happen. And it happened. It's already happened. It's already in the process thereof. In blue states and certain states, people can dictate salaries. Okay? If Aldi can pay a reasonable fucking wage to work there, right? And normal supermarkets have to pay more money, and your average everyday stores, if Target's able to pay $15, $16 an hour, right? Versus the $7, right? That it did for a long time, or $9 or $8, right? Not every business is like this, but I don't know what state you live in and what your situation is, but I do know it's been happening. It had happened. Same cost. Certain states even elevated the minimum wage. Not fast enough. Now, granted, the wages were stagnant for most of the 80s. Right? They moved up in increments, like nickels and dimes. And that's the thing. Now, if you would have told American workers, right, back in 2015, that is currently an employee-based or worker-based economy, that is fucking empowering. Because what do you mean? We dictate the way things are? Yeah. You know, high enrollments of unions, the idea of bringing unions in, Starbucks like freaking out because they're like, oh, Jesus, like a union? Yeah. I mean, because you're asking for people to stay, right? Because you want a quality of service, right? Isn't that the goal? Well, you know, they're going to price themselves out. No, you want to move those people up the ladder. The old mechanism from back in the day is you work diligently and get efficient at your fucking job, and you move up. And it's much better for the person that moves up, because at any point in time when the fit hits the shan, that that manager, that middle manager, or whatever the fuck hierarchy structure you have, can come down and do the floor work. the way they remember doing it, because they have it burned in muscle memory, because they got really good at it. Not some fucking, John Walter from fucking Iowa, right? Fucking, you're like, Iowa. That's what, I put Ohio in, fucking weirdo, right? So sometimes I do that. Ad-libbing the shit off the top of my head. That got a fucking, BA and fucking, MBA and fuck that. You want the person that grinded, right? You want grind culture, right? You want, get on your grind. We fucking rechanneled all rap music to this weird quasi fucking R&B weird fucking bullshit, right? You did that and you got the grind going on. Now, the grind already exists. The hustle already exists in American culture. It already exists. You just reinvoked it and you kind of rechanneled it to serve your purpose. But realistically, you want that fucking person moving upward. And when you dodge that person because you're afraid, because they're now coming in with a different skill set and working knowledge that you may not have, but you think you have. Oh, it gets deep. So at some point in time, I'm going to cover worker, the identity of a worker. Because it's a weird philosophy that existed for years, at least in New England. Yeah, I'm not sure if it existed throughout the whole U.S. Why? Because I haven't lived throughout the whole U.S. But I do know certain parts of the U.S. have trickle-down economies. And they don't know it. And they think this is how it is. I also know certain parts of history in the U.S. is propaganda. It was designed for the sole purpose to create a specific worldview. Right? That's a thing. So if you're wondering why everything's confused, there you go. Because we don't actually talk about shit. And I hate to say it, but I think this is the reason people wanted me to do this. That's what I'm assuming. I'm over an hour right now. So employee-based economies simplify this process is when corporate culture stalled growth for so long that consumer culture, the culture we run because we vote with our dollar, surpassed it and forced them to grow. And when they did that, they couldn't grow fast enough because they were acting like the economy was weak. And it wasn't. We're still on Obama's economy. It's truth. And I think the goal is to destroy it. Okay? If you're paying more money for things, it's because the people in fucking offices and tables somewhere somehow figured out you have the disposable income. And they don't want you to have it. So I'm going to pause for a second, even though you're not going to feel the pause. The Fed Chair Jerome Powell, I want to say this not that far after Biden's term came into effect, was literally trying to blame inflation on workers having too much money. I shit you not. Think about that for a second. We have too much money? Why is that a threat? Because we can open businesses. We can make choices. Like I said to you, you vote with your dollar. Right? Now, what bothers me, and this is the flip side of this coin, dark side of this coin, because you didn't tell Americans that this happened, and you're trying to blame them for it, right? Which average people did not know this was a thing. Right? And you have these multimillionaires like praying, I shit you not. For the last few years, you can catch many of them hot mics or candidly in interviews praying for recession. Praying for recession. Like recession's a big, huge metaphoric whip that keeps us all our workers in line. Some fucked up shit, right? That's some fucked up shit right there. We have too much money. So it's not the supply chain. It's not the disruption of supplies or the cost increase because they realize people will pay more because they're desperate. Not that. That's not what's doing it. It's we have too much money. So the states that decided not to bring up the minimum wage, again, livable wage is a better choice, right? There, at any point in time, can go back to the baseline wage. You know how much that would fuck up economies? Right? But in order for them to do that, they would have to shut a lot of things down, which in the end would hurt their bottom line. It's fucking weird. It's really fucking weird. But so you don't empower a bunch of people by telling them this happened, that our consumer culture forced business to grow. Right? So I'll get back to the coffee shop thing before I'm done. So expansion happens sometimes so fast that the going joke with Dunkin' Donuts New England in the mid to late 90s is they were franchising so fucking quickly in some random little places that I was afraid if I kept my closet door closed too long, I would open up to Dunkin' Donuts. That's how fucking crazy it was, right? And the reason why is because the market dictated to a certain degree, or at least for investors, that there's a lot of people that drink coffee, right? And there's population growth because people fuck, right? Well, they did up to a certain point. And now, and that's another concept called the bottom always replenishes. But I'm not going to get into that right now. Anyway, this is food for thought. This was a hypothesis I had in 2012 that come to pass. Now, I'm thinking it's more of a theory now because the ramifications of it were felt. Because they wouldn't be charging you a lot more money for things if they didn't feel you had the money. And what's weird is the most amount of, that's when the legalization of pot indirectly, not really legal, not really legal, but legal, but not really legal, but legal, not reclassified. That's a gray area, right? And alcohol and all these other great partying concepts, just reintroduce this idea. So where's the money going? Right? Makes you think, right? Because I remember going to a record shop and the guy's like, yeah, the people just don't buy this as much anymore because they got them civil engineering to a different methodology. They think this is antiquated. It's not. It's tactile. It's different. It's tangible. Anyway, which way? Next episode will be episode 4. Sorry about that. It'll be episode 4. And that will be about the liaison film thing. I did that. And in the middle of that, I'm going to break a bunch of shit down then. Because I think in that episode, Hollywood might see a finite amount of money because they disrupted. They also broke their fucking model. And they couldn't figure that out. Yeah. Anyway, so this is a response to what's going on right now. And I think the goal for at least the 18 months is to try to break that worker concept. You want this much for salary? No, we need to break this down more and use less and overwork people over here. And I think that's the menacing fucking thing that's about to happen. Now, the reason why you have workers, I just remember I had to touch on this too, that fiddle with their fucking phones and don't really think they're at a job and kind of phone it in is because millennials and Gen X and their parents, more so, were grinding so fucking hard for very little return. And you didn't tell them on a large scale that's an employee, a worker-based economy. And you didn't frame it as an optimistic thing. Because doom and gloom, doom and gloom, doom and gloom. That's what sells. So we can be reactionary to the corporatist fucking narrative. Right? Because their worry about inflation is more their worry. I know that's really edgy. I know. But if you really walk that through, I live off of interest off of my fucking banking accounts. And now cost of everything's going up, where a lot of us will go, well, we need more hours and we need a better paying job or we need another job. They don't think that way. We adapt. we have an edge. Don't let them break that. Until next time.